Welcome to Grand Prix, where your favorite place to get the quickest news about Formula One racing. We have 3 exciting stories for you today, so make sure to click subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Let's start. The afternoon. Practice session started slowly because the teams wanted to fix their cars before sending them out on the track. For the first few minutes, no drivers went out because the engineers were making last-minute changes to help each new driver who was taking a turn. Unlike the morning session where teams rushed to get information quickly, the afternoon began more carefully. It took 20 minutes before the first car came out. Isaac Hager from Racing Bulls was the first one to start driving. Almost at the same time, Haas sent Esteban Ocon out for his first official time with the team. The current champion Max Verstappen also went out on the track to start his first laps of the session. Just like everyone expected, more drivers slowly joined in and started their testing programs. After 30 minutes, Brazilian rookie Gabriel Bortolito went out on the track for the first time, but only for a quick lap before going back to the garage so his team could make more adjustments to his car. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc was the busiest driver early on, doing lots of laps even though his times were much slower than what happened in the morning. The track was very different between the two sessions. Plus, they were using different amounts of fuel and different tires, which made the lap times slower at this point. Even with all that, Verstappen quickly got into his groove and came close to the best time from earlier in the day. Pierre Gasly also found good speed, doing several fast laps in a row as he kept getting used to his new car. The first big problem happened when Racing Bulls driver Isaac Hager spun off the track because he pushed too hard going into a corner. Luckily, he didn't damage his car too much, but he did mess up his tires and had to make an extra pit stop. Around the same time, Williams sent out Carlos Sainz with special colorful paint on important parts of his car. This bright paint is used to see how air flows around the car, which helps engineers understand how the car works in different situations. Meanwhile, Bortolito came back out on the track, this time for a longer run, focusing on practicing for races instead of trying to go super fast. After an hour of driving, Pierre Gasly was in first place, with Verstappen in second and Sainz in third. Even though several drivers got better times, Bortolito still hadn't done a really fast lap and was in 19th place. While lap times during testing don't always show how good a car really is, they give us early hints about what each team is trying to do and how balanced their cars are. The session was expected to get more exciting in the remaining hours, with teams switching from collecting information to trying to go as fast as possible as the testing session continued. Teams slowly got more active on the track with more drivers setting good lap times. In the early part, Max Verstappen tried harder to match the best lap from the morning. After a few laps in race-like conditions, the Red Bull driver started getting faster, getting closer to Kimi Antonelli's best time. Verstappen wasn't the only one getting faster. Pierre Gasly also stepped up his performance, doing several fast laps as he learned more about his new car. Meanwhile, Racing Bulls driver Isaac Hager was one of the most active drivers on track. Even after his earlier spin, he kept doing steady laps, helping his team gather important information. But not everything was going smoothly for all the teams. Several teams had trouble with their tires wearing out because the track got a little hotter than in the morning, which affected how well the cars could grip the track. Carlos Sainz, driving for Williams, did a long run with medium tires to see how the car behaved over longer periods. The team kept using the special colorful paint to check how the air moved around the car. Bortolito and the Sauber also focused on long practice runs instead of trying to go super fast. As time went on, George Russell became a strong competitor. He did a well-planned stint that eventually saw him beat Antonelli's time. The Mercedes driver got to the top of the leaderboard with a fast lap, showing that his team was starting to get more speed from their car, while Verstappen kept doing his runs. Red Bull seemed more focused on being consistent rather than going super fast. The Dutch driver did several laps with times that were very close to each other, showing that the car was stable in race-like conditions. With 2 hours left in the session, the weather forecast started to worry people. Reports from the track that said that rain could come within the next 30 minutes. The chance of wet conditions made teams rush in their garages, speeding up their testing programs before the rain messed up their plans. Even with this worry, a few teams didn't bring enough sets of rain tires, which could limit how much they could drive if the weather got worse. At this point, Gabriel Bortolito and Lando Norris were the only 2 drivers who hadn't done a really fast lap yet. Both had come out on track briefly but went back to the pits after quick checks. McLaren, like Williams, was also trying the special colorful paint, mainly on the back part of their car to get more information about how air flows around it. Shortly after, George Russell posted another great lap, making Mercedes' strong performance even better. His consistency showed that the W15 could be a serious competitor this season. Meanwhile, Verstappen continued his long run, keeping steady lap times but sometimes locking up his brakes, which showed that the team still needed to work on balancing the car better. One really interesting thing spotted during Bordelito's pit stop was that Sauber had added LED lights to their wheel guns. The team had created a system where a green light turned on when the wheel nut was properly tightened, giving extra safety against mistakes during pit stops. This cool new feature could help throughout the season, making tire changes quicker and safer. That, as the session got close to the 2-hour mark, Verstappen started pushing harder, trying to simulate a qualifying run. However, he had trouble with minor oversteer and slow corners, showing potential weak spots in Red Bull's setup. While this was expected since it was early in testing, it suggested that they would need to make changes over the coming days. Near the end of the session, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc set the fastest lap of the day, briefly taking the top spot before Norris completed his first serious attempt at a timed lap and took first place back. The McLaren driver's lap pushed Russell to second, with Verstappen settling in third. Bordelito, even though he had now completed multiple runs, stayed outside the top 10, focusing on collecting information rather than raw speed. With rain now about to arrive, teams rushed to complete final laps before conditions got worse. The approaching weather threatened to cut short any remaining qualifying practice, adding pressure for those who hadn't shown their true speed yet. While not all questions had been answered, the second half of the session revealed more about the order of who was fastest, setting up for more developments in the final hours of testing. As the final part of the afternoon session happened, teams increased their speed, with several drivers trying fast laps before conditions got worse. With about 1 hour and 55 minutes left, an unexpected red flag stopped the action. A sudden power outage at the circuit caused the trackside lighting to fail, forcing drivers back to the pits while race officials worked to restore visibility. Even though the clock kept running, teams had to change their plans while waiting for the session to start again. Despite the interruption, engineers used the break to improve their car setups. After several minutes of uncertainty, the circuit's lighting system was slowly restored, and the FIA confirmed that the session would be extended by an additional hour to make up for the lost time. As soon as the track reopened with 50 minutes remaining, almost all drivers returned to the circuit. Gabriel Bordelito and Max Verstappen left the pits at the same time, creating a brief side-by-side moment during their warm-up laps as they worked to bring their tires up to the right temperature. One of the most active drivers in this final stretch was Carlos Sainz, who kept doing laps despite minor off-track excursions. Meanwhile, George Russell of Mercedes stayed consistent, completing many runs with a visibly low ride height that caused his car to scrape along the track. This made people wonder if Mercedes might need to adjust their setup to avoid too much bottoming out during race conditions. With just over an hour to go, the session reached its most intense phase as multiple teams unleashed their drivers for flying laps. Lando Norris took advantage of the improved track conditions, setting the fastest time of the day and knocking Charles Leclerc from the top of the standings. The Ferrari driver stayed competitive, staying within a tiny bit of Norris's benchmark. Russell held firm in third, while Verstappen continued focusing on high-fuel runs rather than outright speed. Meanwhile, Bordelito had yet to complete a fully competitive flying lap, although he had accumulated valuable mileage. His lap times remained outside the top 10. However, in the closing stages, he finally switched to a push lap, managing to beat his teammate Nico Hülkenberg. This marked a small but positive step in his learning process, considering the differences in tire compounds used between their fastest runs. As the session entered its final 30 minutes, drivers maintained a high level of activity. Russell continued chipping away at his lap times,